Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for our weekly ECONversations podcast. We're lucky today to have a guest with us. NoRhett Walls is here, but I'm going to turn it over to Gina Gonzales to introduce her, and excited for our conversation today and where it might take us in the world of economic development. Gina.
Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce one of my colleagues in the field and who I consider a friend, NoRhett Walls. She serves as the Vice President for National Commercial Services at Stewart Title Company. NoRhett works closely with builders, developers, principals, and brokers. She offers exceptional client care throughout the entire title process. NoRhett is heavily involved with CREW. So those that are unfamiliar with CREW, it's Commercial Real Estate Women Network. NoRhett is the CREW Inland Empire Chapter President for 2021, President of CREW IE Foundation 2021, and she's served on the board for the past 5 years. And that's actually where I have been introduced to NoRhett. She's worked overall in the industry since '99. Doesn't look even remotely close to that age. But NoRhett's approach is simple and very straightforward, and I would agree that she gets the job done. Her intelligence and effective communication are only part of the puzzle piece. NoRhett's uncanny ability to connect others on their terms allows her to navigate the most challenging transactions and situations to achieve successful outcomes. And I can honestly say that everything that NoRhett says she's going to do, she follows up precisely, quickly, and she's extremely reliable. And she's a pleasure to have as a friend and a colleague. And she has been a wealth of information from my interactions with NoRhett, and I'm just excited to share with the rest of the group. And I know that Kim has a great relationship with NoRhett, but maybe not the rest of our business community understands the wealth of applications and services that NoRhett can offer and share and bring as a partner arm for economic developers. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to share more about NoRhett and what she does.
Thank you, Gina. That is a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here today with everyone. And yes, I would love to share how I can work with you and how I can better help facilitate anything you need through the city with the research and tools we have at Stewart Title Company. So do you want me just to jump in, Gina, or would you like to have some questions for me first? How does this work?
Well, why don't I was thinking there's a couple different things, from a city side, there's some services that you can offer, one, the Econ Dev partners, and then some of our extension community when it comes to our brokers and our developers, and what type of expertise. You're more than just a title company, first off. So what tools do you have that you're able to help your clients?
So Gina, I would say we have some great tools in our treasure chest here. Whether or not it's someone in econ development that's just looking to do some research on a particular piece of property, we as a title insurance company are able to help do that research for you. We can do it internally with our staff, or we can actually have you do it yourself online with 2 applications that we have, Title Pro 247 and Stewart Title Commercial Edge. Both of those systems will allow you to do aerial maps, parcel map overlay, all of your ownership research. You can actually get copies of the deeds of trust and grant deeds on both of those systems. And the app that coincides with that is fantastic, because if you are driving around and you see a piece of property, you're able to use your mobile app, the GPS in your phone, to find out the history and research on that particular piece of property as well. So it's not just at your desktop any longer. We've actually given you those tools to take with you on the go, because unfortunately, due to COVID, we're all at home. But before that, mainly we were out and about with people all day long. So when you're touring someone to look at properties, and you have a client in your car and they want to build, whatever it may be, whether it be a 7-Eleven or they're putting up a hotel or they're going to be putting in a restaurant. And they say, well, what about that vacant lot over there? If you don't have that file folder with you, you can use our app to get the information on that property. So you have the information to talk to the client right then and there.
That's very cool.
I was going to say, so that's
It's
been
a really cool.
it's beneficial from an econ dev side where, our catalog of contacts only goes so long. What's great about having a partner like this that you wouldn't traditionally think about having access to is, it goes beyond just our region. So that's what's great. So let's say there's a particular project that maybe we have, our white pages research can only go so far, but having NoRhett on speed dial allows us to get some of that insider information. And believe it or not, she usually will know somebody that will get us, a meeting in place to bring that particular use or development to our region. And that's where I was saying, it's kind of nice because having access to someone like that with a Rolodex like that is beneficial for what we do in our world. And then on Crew,
Definitely.
I wasn't sure if maybe you could explain a little bit about what Crew is. And I know that my experience, it was one of the first times that I met NoRhett, and that was the first thing she was asking me was like, are you part of Crew? You have to be part of this because, everybody has those lists that it's like you have a question about, and you're like, I'll shoot this question to my particular professional network and let me see what I can get back. That's really what this is. It's an expanded network of women in commercial real estate. And let me tell you, I've received lots of leads through this organization because of NoRhett.
Thank you. Well, we like to call it the power of Crew. And Crew is Commercial Real Estate Women. Our Inland Empire chapter was founded here 13 years ago. I have been president in 2020 and will be president in 2021. I have served on the board for the end of this year, it'll be 6 years now. And I will just tell you that it definitely changes and enhances your involvement in commercial real estate, regardless of what area that you're in. And really, we are a business network for advancing the placement of women in the commercial real estate field. And we have a lot of men that are members of our chapter. We have a lot of men that support us. So it's not strictly women. It's not a women-only organization, but it's based on the principles about making sure that women get put in the forefront. And we do our best to make sure that that happens. And the Crew Network now, I believe there are 13 or 14,000 members internationally now. We have over 72 different chapters across the globe. So it's a huge organization. And with Crew, it's nice because we're the only organization out there that has our own personal, it's very similar to like a LinkedIn account. It's called Crew Biz. And once your profile is on Crew Biz, all 15,000 people internationally have your information, your phone number, your email address, your contact. And we also have a Crew blog. And what happens is if you have a question or a need, you just type it in there any time of day, and it goes out to all 15,000 members across the globe. And they get to come back and respond and help you answer your questions, find someone to work with. And there's nothing like calling someone that's a friend and you realize how many more friends you have in your Rolodex when you join an organization like this. We really like to build people and put people together, help build their business and help make transactions for them. Because if we're not doing business, then we shouldn't really be in business, right? We need to do more business. That's what it's all about.
You guys hold.
Amen.
They hold some really
But
great.
there's some deals that
As I say, you guys hold some really great events as well. Also, your speaking engagements. Is there any that are coming up?
we do. Now you caught me off guard. Yes, we do have quite a few that are coming up. Actually, I'm sorry, my phone keeps dinging. Yes, we do. We have a networking that we do once a month. That's coming up next Tuesday. Actually, always the first Tuesday of every month. We host it usually at different locations. We have done it virtually for quite some time now, just because of COVID. But now on Tuesday, we will be at Haven City at 5 o'clock. So whoever would like to join us is more than welcome to show up. It's really nice to just mingle with people and talk business. There's no agenda, there's no speakers, nothing like that. You just come and meet someone new. That's usually what we like to do, is hopefully we can introduce you to someone you haven't met before. We do have more of our professional development series coming up this year. I'm not sure who our last speaker is going to be yet, but we do 3 of those series throughout the year. And also we do unfortunately, we won't be having our foundation dinner this year. So hopefully we'll be able to get back to that in 2021, and we're looking forward to it. But that is the support system and the fundraiser for the Inland Empire Foundation, where we award our scholarships to 2 lucky recipients every year. So we do. So definitely check our website, please, crewie.org, and look at our events page, because we have done so many since COVID. I think we were one of the only chapters that was doing events, and I believe we've put on 28 events in the last 4 months. That's quite a lot. So there's always something coming up, whether you're involved in yoga, or you'd like to get involved with our book club, or you want to just talk about education, or get involved in anything that we're talking about. You're more than welcome to join.
Thank you. I have a question. Being a title company as well, you are really the ones that kind of get a pulse of the activity that has been going on, one in our region, just overall in Southern California. What have you and your team been experiencing or seeing since COVID with residential or even commercial activity? And I know what we individually see is our cities, because we have a pretty good pulse individually, but I was just trying to get your expertise on what Stewart Title has been seeing as far as things that are processing with escrows.
So Gina, I would say in March, people got a little leery, obviously, because they weren't sure what the future was going to hold. And people that were thinking about selling their home or selling their business or selling their commercial real estate decided to go ahead and still do that. And buyers were a little hesitant at first, and then it just seems like when April came around, by mid-April, things were coming back into full swing. So we did have a downturn of business. I would say company-wide, maybe about 25%. And that was only for maybe 35 to 45 days. Honestly, people that want to buy a home, they're in a position where they need to buy a home. And if you know you can get money cheap, and right now money is very cheap, interest rates are very low, you're going to go ahead and you're going to buy that house, because most likely, your interest or your payment's going to be cheaper than what you're paying for rent, hopefully, if your interest rates are low enough. So we saw quite a lot in the residential side continue to go forward. Right now, inventory, there isn't enough of it. You get multiple offers on properties in the residential market. Same thing really for commercial. We're seeing a lot of commercial refinances right now. We're also seeing SBA loans going crazy. I can't tell you the amount of SBA lenders that I talk to on a weekly basis, and how busy they are with businesses and people starting up new companies and new businesses or expanding. So that was something I was shocked when I heard that, because I thought, oh, people are going to be pulling back, but no, they're actually going forward.
Those were specifically SBA loans for new businesses, not them trying to recover from COVID. They were new business loans through the SBA.
So it's, Kim, a little bit of both. Yes. Well, they're new business loans, yes. And there are some that were loans to recover from COVID as well. But yes, we've seen quite a few people start up new companies, new businesses, and really start to get back out there into the marketplace, which is really fantastic. And we've seen an upturn in a lot of the commercial purchasing, regardless of what it is, land always, we're always seeing an upturn in land. And We've seen quite a few office actually recently, some office purchases, a lot of development for hotels, for gas stations, things of that nature. So it's all going forward. We're not seeing a slowdown. We are still very busy. And I think the Inland Empire, because it's such a land of opportunity, it is where everyone's coming now. This is where land is readily available. So if you're looking to start a company or you need land for any reason, this is where people are looking now. Orange County, LA County, it's bought up. There really isn't that area of expansion for growth, and we have it in the Inland Empire.
So I had a couple of questions actually. So one around kind of the commercial property aspect, and I know we've all talked about this quite a bit over the last 6 months, is that, we're hearing different stories from commercial property owners around, that especially probably more along the lines of the smaller ones, not obviously the big boys that don't have to worry as much, but the smaller commercial property owners, are challenged with, the collecting rents, and then, they have tenants who aren't paying their rents, but they've got no tools in the tool bag because there's no, eviction, basically moratorium on evictions and what have you. So maybe from your perspective, maybe what are you hearing kind of around that? Because I agree with you. I think that there's huge opportunities for those who have the wherewithal to go in and purchase commercial properties right now, without a doubt. But we're also kind of, we've been hearing locally some of the challenges of some of the smaller owners of these commercial properties of, I've got, 2 tenants who aren't paying me, and I can put their rents on the back end of the lease, but I still got to pay my mortgage every single month. Kind of what are you guys hearing on your side of the fence around that?
What we've heard about, what we're seeing more than anything, is a lot of conversations. No one as a landlord wants to have that conversation with their tenant about, you need to pay rent, or when is it going to be here? What's your game plan? So a majority of basically the people that I work with, that property owners that have larger centers, whether they be retail or office or whatever it may be, they really sat down with all of their tenants and said, look, we understand it's going to be hard times for a while. Here's the position we're in. We're not, just sitting on mountains of dollars. So we're going to need you guys to pay rent every month. If it's going to be late, we need to know. If you're going to be able to pay a portion, we're going to need to know. We want to work with you on your end. We're trying to get the banks on our end to work with us. So it really was just a nice conversation amongst most of them to be able to work that out, because it's a very delicate thing. You don't want a situation to become, something where someone's going to lose their, beautiful retail center or any other building they might have because their tenants can't pay the rent. But if no one's in business and no one's operational, no one can pay anyway. So getting someone out doesn't help you, because you're not going to be able to bring anybody in that's going to have any money either. So basically, it's just being able to talk to every bank that they have a loan with and hope for the best on the back end. And most lenders right now are working with property owners to be able to defer some of those payments or put them on the back end, or whatever portion they're able to make, whatever's not going to be there, put that on the back end of the loan so they can go ahead and work that out. Because banks don't want the properties back. Believe me, every bank that we have talked to and every lending institution, they don't want to take these properties back. They do not want a 2008, 2009 situation again. They want these properties to stay, with owners and stay in the system and just be profitable and make more money. So it's really just a workaround. Everyone has to be willing to give a little so you can get a better result.
That's good to hear, because I think that we had been starting to hear on our side that most of the financial institutions were not being as willing to work with a lot of the property owners. And so it's good to hear that maybe that is not necessarily the case, and maybe that is the exception, because I think that's hugely important, just for all the reasons you just stated. So I was curious too, from your perspective, because we've talked a lot about this, especially the last 6 months, is, we were talking prior to this about, what do we see as obviously trends in the industry and different things. the last 6 months has changed a lot of different things, especially when it comes to the commercial industry, right? We've talked about how, drive-through is going to be looked at completely differently now compared to what it was. There's going to be a huge demand for more drive-through and aspects. From your perspective, kind of what are you hearing trend-wise, from all the different, retailers and contacts that you have on a regular basis?
So we know the Inland Empire has always been known for the big box industrial. That's where everyone wants air. The trucks are coming into the Inland Empire by the hundreds every day to take our goods to the port or across the US or wherever that they're going. So we've seen an upturn in a lot of land purchasing just because of that. And I will say larger developers that are doing projects, they're not going to put anything on hold because honestly, they really don't have the time to.
Mhm.
And a lot of home builders have been buying land everywhere they can get their hands on because they know that they're going to need it. And before COVID, a lot of areas were low on residential homes. So they needed to have that influx of purchasing so we can go ahead and build more homes for more areas. I do see that we probably will have an upturn in companies that are coming into the Inland Empire and staying in the Inland Empire. So we'll have a lot more jobs readily available, I think. So that will bring back quite a lot, office, retail, things of that nature. But we've seen an upturn mostly probably in land and multifamily. People want that because you always make money with apartments. Everyone always needs a place to live. So that definitely is something that people are turning to. And they had talked earlier this year that the hotel market was going to take a really big hit. But I've noticed for the hotel developers and the hotel owners that I work with, that they're actually coming back a lot they had anticipated because they're full all the time now. People are still having to travel and go places, not so much your resort facilities if you're going to take a vacation, but if you're traveling somewhere for business, definitely, that type of situation is keeping those hotels full.
Very good. Yeah, we've seen that the hotel side here has rebounded a lot quicker than we had expected for Southwest Riverside County. The only challenge to it is that the occupancies are up, but the daily rate is down tremendously. So there's kind of it's a give and take to an extent, which I'm sure that's kind of across the board. But it's much more encouraging than when I was dealing with our local DMO and we were seeing a 90% drop off for the first 3 months. I mean, a 60 to 70% at a lower daily rate is way more, way more acceptable than a 90% drop off at any rate. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Something is better than nothing, right? So you just really have to take that in stride and continue to go forward with it. We have seen an upturn quite a lot in 1031 exchanges. We've seen quite a few people that are using those, regardless of it, if it's to purchase something here in California or that they're purchasing property out of state. But we've seen a tremendous uptick in 1031 exchanges. And I think obviously that has to do with the fact that people want to use it while they can, because come November, they might not ever be able to use them again.
Yeah.
Oh, it always comes back to the elections.
I know. But you know what? Regardless what happens, real estate will still thrive through. We're still going to be busy. It's not, I don't think that really has that much effect on everything that we do as far as buying, selling, needing a place to live, needing a place to shop. We're always going to need those things. So that means that our commercial real estate market will always continue to thrive.
And that everything that NoRhett just said just coincides exactly with what Thornburg has shared with us collectively and overall in the market of that slow V returning, not a W. So that's encouraging to hear that, our business partners and stakeholders are also feeling the same thing regionally with us, returning quicker quickly back to the way business should be, but maybe not as how we would all like it to return as quick. But that's still encouraging to know that the confidence is still there in the development community and that things are positively moving in the right direction.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had a conversation
Definitely.
in the last couple weeks, well, a few of them around with my role on the workforce development board for the county. And, you know, to NoRhett's point of, you know, we talk a lot, but we don't have as much of it down here, but the whole logistics industry has a huge impact even still though on our community, because we have a lot of people that live here and work in that industry. But that is something that is, just going to, I think, grow tremendously. One, because of there is a concerted effort to reshore a lot of companies and try and attract them to this area for that logistics aspect. But two is that that whole industry has blown up like way more than anyone had ever expected. I mean, I talked to a gentleman who runs a logistics company in San Bernardino, and he has a load that normally would go every few months to New Hampshire from here. Normally would cost about $6,500 to take that load from here all the way to New Hampshire. He put that load on the street for a trucking company at $11,000 and could get no takers, because there is so much demand in the industry right now, and people in that industry just get to set their prices. So it is an industry that is growing tremendously quickly in our area, and we should all be trying to figure out how to leverage that all to our advantage, whatever way that means. But I think that to that point, I think that helps. You know, like you're just saying, is that U curve back for us. You know, financially, I think that puts us in a good place in the Inland Empire in that regard.
Yeah, that's interesting, Patrick, because obviously that would explain, you know, the influx of interest into our region of trying to put more locations to reduce the overall trip costs, to reduce that. Because if it's a bartering system,
Supply
to
and
your
demand. Yeah.
Mhm.
point, so
Yeah.
interesting. Well,
Very good. All right. Anything, Kimberly, you wanted to add in before we close up?
No, I don't think so. I had the honor of working with NoRhett at a different city when I was doing my commercial real estate meetups. She was always front and center at those commercial real estate meetups, and I always appreciated it because she was just such a plethora of information to my other guests at that real estate meetup, and it's just been really a delight to have known her the past few years and to be able to work with her. We don't get to work quite as much together now because I think geographically we're just a little bit further apart from each other, so it's not quite as often as I think we'd both like, but it's always been a pleasure to work with NoRhett. And I echo exactly what Gina said. She gets things done. If she says she's going to do something or show up somewhere, she does it. And that it's just so refreshing to see that sometimes, because you don't always get that, you know. So it's always been a pleasure working with NoRhett.
don't worry, Kim, we have something up our sleeve that involve you and Christine, so.
Oh boy. This sounds good. All right.
No, I really appreciate the time today and being able to come on and talk with all of you. And I would just share also that, you know, when you have developers and clients that are looking at certain properties in your city, give us a call, because I can run some information for you in just a few minutes that'll let you know if a property has easements that are going to be a problem for some kind of development coming up. Maybe the property has had deceased people and it's going to wind up in probate for 2 years, and you don't want to waste your time talking to those people about that. So the more information you give me to just right off the bat, as soon as you possibly can, the more I can help you. That way you look like a genius to your client as well, and you're not wasting your time. Because so often you get wrapped up into a piece of property and they really want that one lot, but but you don't know that it could possibly be a probate case, or maybe there's an Edison easement that runs right through it and you can't develop anything on it, and there goes your whole
Right.
project plan. So give us a call. Let us run that information for you. It only takes a few minutes. So one phone call could save you a lot of money and a lot of time.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, NoRhett, for joining us this week. It was great to have you. Obviously, we'll probably look to have you again in the future sometime. But I'd like to wrap it up for today. Thank you all for joining us again. We look forward to talking to you next time on the Southwest Riverside County Economic Development ECONversations. Thanks, everyone.